How do I improve? It's a complicated question. And despite that, there's a lot of videos on it. So many players hitting a brick wall, but it seems like almost every content creator out there in this scene is making a video on improvement. Either something on the lines of what things you're doing wrong, how I specifically got better at the game, just focus more, focus on like specific moments in the game, have intentionality when you play, etc., etc., etc. For the difficulty of the question, it seems like the answers seem quite simple. And that's weird. And I feel like a lot of players confront this. Why, if the question, how do I improve, seems so abstract, how can we get such a simple answer out? It seems absurd. There's also things like don't get hit, which I would say is the pinnacle of this absurdity. The fact that the answer is so simple. But at the same time, what does that mean? Because, well, I've learned, it's saying that simple is better. It's saying that if you overthink, then you won't improve. So just don't get hit. But at the same time, that doesn't say anything at all. So it's interesting. And then people say other things. They say, well, have structured goals of what you want to do, like practice in training room, live matchups, figure out what you're doing wrong, don't have bad habits. But then you go to those goals, you remove all of your bad habits, but where is this better? And then you realize, well, maybe it's in results. If it's on goals, maybe it's in results. Maybe if I get results, that'll be better. But even then, you beat one player, and you lose to another player, and then you're not consistent, because now you need consistent results. And then if you get consistent results, well, then maybe it's your character. If it's not your character, then maybe it's your region, maybe it's something else, maybe it's your playstyle, maybe, well, how do you even know you got better? Maybe you just somehow stumbled upon it. How do you even know that the advice you were given is right? How do you even know you can translate what you did to someone else? Like, nobody knows what they're talking about. Even if you're Leo, you're the best player in the world. Well, what exactly makes Leo good? Well, it's not get hit, and you can analyze him forever. Well, he has this good way of pressuring, or he's very controlled and precise in his movement, or he has good reads, or whatever. And I get to speak throwing words out. Okay, so like, he's good, he doesn't have bad habits, or like, he's good at mixing up. I can just say these things about Leo. It doesn't have to be true. It probably is true. But I could just throw these things out there. It doesn't really attach to anything. So then, how do you get better? Well, if it's not goals, not removing all your bad habits, if it's not any of these things, then what could it be? Then you might be confused, because then what's the point then? You just get better from playing the game? Does it matter in which way you improve? Is there even a correct answer? And I'm going to say, maybe the answer is no. Maybe you can't improve. And this is going to be tricky, because it depends specifically on what you mean by the question, can I improve? Because it means there's a couple of things in that. There's there's improve, and there's can. Can I improve? What's I? What does I represent? Does I represent your playstyle? Does it represent you? Does it represent your mindset? Does it represent how you go about improving? Does it represent some combination of all of those? What does it represent? What is I? Can I improve? Because what is improving I? Right? So what's improving I? So if I improve I, but I is bad, then how can I improve I? So it makes sense that all of these things are simple because it has to be simple from the outside. If I understood it, if I understood how to improve, then I couldn't improve because I would have already known it. And I'd be applying it to myself, and then how can I improve I? It's the same thing. Let's go honest. Maybe I can't improve. Maybe you can't improve. Now, clearly people improve. So how does that work? It could be that it is not the skill at the game that changes, but the I that changes. That, rather than you getting some magical juice from the game and it levels up your skill at fundies XX27, you get the fundies juice and now you have fundies. Well, maybe I changes. So then the question I ask is, what is the nature of I? And how does that relate to the game? Like, why do I want to improve? And to me, when I started asking those questions about I, and when I came to this through meditation, that's where you get the true answer from. What is I? Why improve? Why does I want to improve? And I'm saying it like, why does I want to improve instead of like, why do you? Because that sounds weird, but I'm talking as if I is this thing that your brain creates and that you are different from I. So why does I want to improve? What does I want? Well, maybe I wants to improve because of ego. So I want to improve because you have a sense of identity with this game. If you have a big sense of identity with this game, then I would say that you might be losing because of like anger, because what happens is you think that you're really good and then you lose, and you have to have this angry defense mechanism to keep your worldview about the game together. But here's the problem. If you do that, then you can't change your worldview. You can't change your worldview, then you're going to do the same things in the same situations. Do the same things in the same situations, and you can't improve. That's the definition. If you keep doing the same things, they're not going to change. Maybe I has to change. But then we get to the same problem. How does I change if I is changing I? So maybe the problem is a consistent I. If you feel as if you need this consistent story about the game and how you play it, how I got from being bad to being great, well, maybe it's that, because if it's always the same story, it's always going to lead to the same results. So now we get to a purpose of meditation here. Saying a string of meditation. We're going to say that maybe it's I that needs to go away. And maybe we should play the game without directly thinking about improvement, about outcomes, but rather, and about winning or losing, but rather just play the game. Just with, of course, the attitude of not getting hit. So just don't get hit. Just. So how does just work? Well, first issue is if you go at this meditation thing, if you just what I'm suggesting here is first you will look at your thoughts in a non-biased way, and you'll apply that process of meditation. So you learn meditation, and then you apply it to the game, and you have this creative and I would say, a imaginative way of doing that. And then you will start to learn things, I think. Yeah. So maybe you will start. Because here's the thing. Again, going back. So you get your meditation and you start applying it to the game. You start separating yourself from your old worldview. You start examining things in the game from a neutral perspective. Maybe you even look at the opponent and don't react immediately to how they're playing in a specific way. And you start to realize that your old conceptions on what is good and what is bad start to break down when you analyze it from a neutral perspective. You learn some things are good that you just ignored for some reason. Some things are bad that you have just ignored for some reason. And the further away you get from actually trying to improve, a crazy thing happens. Because you cannot be what you already are. You have to let go of improvement to actually improve. There's a really quick way that I found to do this. With anxiety, I realized that one of the main issues is that I was anxious about creating anxiety. But if I were to try to create anxiety, I couldn't. So one day I just tried to create it. Realized, wait a second, I cannot create anxiety. If you try to make yourself anxious, then all you're going to do is realize how not anxious you are. So here is somewhat of like a silver bullet for this whole improvement thing. Try to get worse. Try to play as bad as possible without making any large mistakes like SDing on purpose. And then you might realize that the control you thought you have is lesser or different in the aspect of improvement compared to what you originally thought.